back here on the Cover 3 podcast. Those watching along on youtube.com/cover3 just got to see a wonderful promotion for UFC 324, which you can watch on Paramount Plus. And I am going to be educated thanks to our great producer, Mikey. He can help me here, but I don't know, man. A cat from Liverpool named Patty, I might be in. I think that might be one of my guys. I need to figure out who I'm a fan of. Are we a free agent? Do we have a UFC fighter that we're behind right now? Do we have anyone that we've got our support for? I'm gonna learn. I'm excited about this.
Is George St. Pierre still fighting?
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. All right. The number 1 seed in the college football playoff continues their winning ways. What a statement by Indiana. Absolute dominance against Alabama in the Rose Bowl to advance to the semifinals. They will be meeting Oregon, the team that they defeated 30-20 in Eugene earlier this season. Danny, what do you think is going to be different in this rematch between these two?
Well, if you're Oregon, you hope you're more physical than you were the first time because they got pushed around and dominated on both lines of scrimmage, which was the biggest surprise of the game for me. I think you would hope Dante Moore plays much better than he did the first time around. It's really his first big game. I know he played Penn State as well, but that was his best defense that he's faced so far. And then I think you've got to make them – you have to try to make them one-dimensional. They're so balanced, and they had a very balanced attack against Oregon last time. And I know it's kind of crazy to say this because Fernando Mendoza is so good, but you just can't. You have to take away their run game and try to have him beat you through the air with some of his weapons at wide receiver. So I would say for Oregon, they've got to be ready to meet the physical challenge. I don't know if you guys saw the clip. I asked Bryce Betcher after. I said, "Who do you guys rather want to play, Alabama or Indiana?" They said revenge. I mean, Dan Lanning is great at getting his team motivated. I don't think they need any more motivation than what they saw the last time. But I would say they've got to meet the physical challenge more so than they did the first time around the regular season.
What's super interesting about this to me, and we have seen teams talk about it, like I think it was Feldman who wrote the story last week about like what Indiana does defensively and how they have confused the crap out of everybody. Like everybody's like, wow, what is this? Blah, blah, blah. What happens when they see a team twice? Because Dante Moore took 6 sacks in the very first matchup. He was pressured like on nearly half of his dropbacks. What does Oregon take away from what happened in the first game? What did they see? What did they learn? How can they counter it? How can they fix it? Does Indiana counter anything and change stuff up to continue further, just, completely confusing them? That's something we haven't seen because Indiana hasn't had a rematch this year. Like they've only played everybody once. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that, whether Oregon can adjust or if Oregon just, again, gets completely overwhelmed the same way that they did up front against Indiana in the first one. But I also think the other thing, like we showed those stats of Mendoza and Moore from this first matchup. It's not like Fernando was balling out in this game. It was one of his worst games of the season. He did have the pick 6. And if you look through Indiana's games, the thing in the country, they lead the nation on third down and yards needed. 5.5 yards is their average third down. That's the best. The common thread in every single game in which Indiana has struggled has been third down. Against Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, and Penn State, they've needed an average of 6.5 yards, a full yard more on their third downs. Their conversion rate dropped from 56.1% in the other games to 40.7% in those. You have to put Indiana in third and long situations because Fernando, I talked about this last week, he's terrific under pressure when he's able to get the ball away. But Fernando, for all of the things that he is very good at, he does take sacks. His sack rate of 5.9% ranks 74th among qualified quarterbacks. The pressure to sack ratio of 5.48 is 82nd. The one thing that he does is saving grace is, unlike a lot of guys that can go back to the Orange Bowl there with Baron Morton and Dante Moore running backwards every single time they were getting pressured, Fernando steps up in the pocket. So when he does get sacked, he minimizes the damage done. But you can get to him, and we saw Oregon have some success getting to him in that first game. So can you get him down on the ground, put them behind schedule because they are not nearly as effective once the third downs start getting longer as they have been most of the time when they're just steamrolling teams.
If Oregon wins this game, what do you think we're talking about Saturday night? Like, okay, what Tom said is tough to win a rematch, right? Like I think all the points Denny said. And also maybe, all right, in hindsight, maybe Simpson was more hurt than we realized, right? Like maybe like the win. I'm saying
I think it's Dante. If Oregon wins this game, I think that it's Dante.
Simpson played. Yeah. Right. Like, okay, Oregon handled the Indiana blitz packages much better than Alabama did. Blitz protection had been an issue for Alabama all year long, right? Oregon was more comfortable playing man coverage than Bama was. I actually think playing all that man, like some of those concepts, hurt their run fits for Bama in that game. I think we're going to we would look to nitpick, okay, were there weaknesses, were there warning signs in a ridiculously dominant win over the Tide that we should have picked out before we see Oregon beat Indiana, which again, I don't really think Oregon's going to beat them, but I think it's certainly possible, right? Like the line's 4, not 40. So it's probably that, hey, Bama was a lot more like limping to the finish line with Simpson than we realized. Like some of the things that they didn't do well, we called out some of the things that we called out pre-flop, and some we called out in post game. Oregon fixed some of their protection stuff against Indiana the second time around. They were more ready for how they were going to attack the way they called their protections. A little bit healthier receiver now, and Dante made big time throws just as Mendoza did, and they he just made a couple more.
And it was a classic.
Yeah. I guess how it plays out.
How about this? We talk about Indiana's linebackers a lot, right? And especially just they do great run fits. They're always in the right place at the right time. But Kenyon Sadiq and Jamari Johnson, who continues to sort of come on in the back half of this season, in Indiana, do they have the players to be able to make stops when that's the number that's called? Like when they just press the Sadiq button, is Indiana going to be able to cover?
I think so. I do. Like a lot of it, you got to get Indiana out of these too high looks. That they are so good at kind of playing them -1 in the box and yet still fitting the run. If you're able to punish them for that, and most teams have been unable to do so, then you get some more opportunities up the seams, right? To those tight ends, you get some opportunities for some better play action stuff. But if you don't get them out of those looks, you don't win. So they do a really good job of staying in those looks, not allowing explosive plays, making you actually execute over and over and over again. That's going to be a really key part of this game. I think the biggest thing for me though is how does Oregon handle some of the Indiana blitz stuff this time around? Because Indiana got them the first time. They did a really good job getting pressure, free runners on more guys who were unaccounted for. They scouted it well. They lined it up well. They bluffed well. They executed well. Does Oregon have answers for them this time around against their pressure stuff?
And recency bias is a hell of a drug. So, based on what I saw in the Orange Bowl, I'm not all that optimistic about Oregon, because if you look at their performance in that game offensively, every single stat I care about, that was their worst performance of the season. Was the Indiana game. And what was second worst? Texas Tech. So, they did not play well at all last week. They did not protect Dante Moore. Dante was flustered and making terrible decisions. They were not really able to run the ball. If they're unable to run the ball and slow down that pass rush in this one, it's going to be difficult for them to move the ball. They're going to look a lot like Alabama looked. If you make them one-dimensional and you let Indiana just focus on pinning its ears back and coming after your ass, that doesn't work. It hasn't worked for anybody.
Yeah, I would say if Oregon wins this game, we'd be talking about their defense made Fernando Mendoza look human. That's, I think, their best chance to win. I think Dante Moore would have to have a great game too, but I think the Oregon's defense, which did play pretty well against the first time, did get a pick 6. I think that to me would be the story of this game, and why I actually give Oregon a chance is because I do think their defense is slightly underrated, but their offense was atrocious. Now, how much of that had to do with Texas Tech being one of the best defenses in the country? That, of course, played into it, but they can't play like that against Indiana, expect to win. But I almost think it's setting up perfectly for Lanning, because defense had issues against James Madison in garbage time. They tightened that up. Offense looks bad here against Texas Tech. You tighten that up. They really haven't peaked yet. I don't think we've seen a game where they played at their best. Maybe it happens. If it doesn't, they'll get beat. They'll go home. They'll say what we needed to address. But if they do, they peak at the right time, and this game could be the national championship game. The winner of this one.
A conversation I would like to pin for the offseason, because it'd be too long to get into now.
What?
It used to be not that long ago, when you got to this point of the season, the elite offenses overwhelmed the best defenses. Lately, these great offenses that we see during the regular season, every time they run into a great defense, they're not doing nearly as well.
In the playoff?
In the playoff, in the season period. Like, if you break it down, it's like Ohio State in the regular season, when they played great defenses, they couldn't score. And they're still one of the best offenses in the country. Oregon played great defenses. They couldn't score. I wonder what that is. We should probably, again, this is an off-season topic for longer debate, but it's just something that's interesting to me.
I fully agree with you on that. But if you go back further, like, think about it. 2000, you have Oklahoma shutting down Florida State's wide open offense. 03, you have Saban's LSU defense shutting down a wide ass open Oklahoma offense that was scoring on everybody. There's a couple more examples of this. I think 06 Florida.
Yeah.
That Ohio State offense with Troy Smith won the Heisman. They were scoring everybody. So it does kind of go a little bit cyclical. Yeah, I agree.
But I wonder what the adjustment has been.
I think it's a lot of like denying the explosives, more of the sim pressures to combat some of the stuff that you're getting from the RPOs, and just like causing them to hold the ball a little more hesitation.
Think more. Like if
right.
these quarterbacks have all been tasked with just like read this outside linebacker and make a decision, then if you're a really, really good defense that can operate at a high level, then you can come up with a counter to confuse.
Well, then the four of us should figure out how to counter that to score more points than we go millions.
I mean, it is. I mean, football, NFL, college football, it's always been cyclical. There's always things that have been trendy, and RPO was super trendy. Tempo was trendy. Defenses have adjusted. They realized how to get check out of certain things when they go tempo. They realized how to defend RPOs a little bit better. But I think to Bud's point, like the explosives, that has been a point across NFL and college football, playing a lot of shell coverage, make them drive the length of the field. And the more you do that, the more opportunity it has for defense to make plays and the offense to screw up.
Some points from the chat as well. Age, for sure. Not having to play as many young players because you can get old, stay old via the portal does allow you to call more stuff on defense.
To be more complex because you're teaching older guys the ability to recognize stuff, make checks, and things of that nature. It's a fun game. I'm excited about this one. Any final thought? I mean, two of the best coaches in college football right now, two of the best programs in college football right now. It is the last two Big Ten champions going against each other, guaranteeing the Big Ten will have a team playing for the national championship. I like, Bud, your prompt of, if Oregon wins, what are we talking about? What else is sort of a path that you think could end up being the dominant storyline in this matchup?
Oh, the Daly thing.
Like, are they going to miss?
We have somewhat written off the idea that the loss of Daly for Indiana is not a factor because, like, they ended up killing Alabama. My guess, if Oregon wins this, the loss of Daly, the need to blitz to get pressure and not be able to get home with 4 will be a major talking point for us. As a guess. Again, if Oregon wins.
Indiana, two things stand out to me. Number one, Indiana is just an old-ass team. Old team. A lot of 6th year, 5th year, 4th year play. I think it's something like 18 of the 22 on the starting depth chart, 4th year, 5th year, 6th year players. I know that Indiana hasn't been here before, but it makes sense why they are so well coached and able to go out there and execute. Oregon, on the other hand, has wildly talented freshmen that are out there making plays, huge plays, winning defensive MVP, of the Orange Bowl. But it's definitely a little bit of an experience advantage. The other advantage for the Hoosiers, man, they were in Miami. Then they're flying back to Eugene. And then they're coming from Eugene all the way back to Atlanta. I know that Dan Lanning and Oregon, they are not going to allow for that to be an excuse or anything that's going to creep into the minds of the players. But I don't know about y'all, but I am definitely taking into consideration the travel disadvantage that the Oregon Ducks have in terms of everything that's taking place in a 10, 12-day window here.
I would take it into account more, and I don't disagree with you, but I think it would matter more to me if they were on a standard 7-day window.
They get the extra day. They also are not, but they're also not coming back for a long run up the way they would for the title game, because we don't have a media day for this one. We don't have as like that 4-day run up.
Right.
They're just going to get back. It'll be just a couple days, and then it'll be go time on Friday. So we'll see. I mean, this is what life is, you know. If you're playing game number 15 and it's going to require a lot of crazy back and forth, there's truthfully not, I mean, whether it's Washington, whether it's Oregon, there's not a lot in the current college football playoff system that sets up well in terms of your travel. I mean, I guess if you got Rose Fiesta, you know, that would be the only way that it could have worked out well, but that's not what the Ducks have. So Indiana, on the other hand, they do have to deal with coming back from Pasadena, but Indianapolis to Atlanta obviously is not that difficult.
Agreed.
Any other notes here?
I'm really excited to watch this one. I mean, I'm excited to watch both. Let me ask you this last thing, because I know we got to go. Is this semifinal an argument for reseeding?
No.
I
like bracket luck.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. I think I'd like to kind of not have bracket luck.
If you're going to build that big ass bracket, then let's have it as a bracket, which means if you take out the Dragon like Miami did, well, shit, now everything's in front of you. I think there should be a reward for being able to take out one of the top seeds.
I think reseeding puts more emphasis on the regular season and finishing strong in the regular season.
Maybe, but I also think it puts far more emphasis on the selection committee to know what the hell it's talking about.
That's fair too, for sure.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
I would argue it'd be an argument for flip-flopping locations, because it makes it would be way easier on both these fan bases, Miami, Ole Miss, and Atlanta, and Indiana, Oregon out in Fiesta. I know it's a little bit further for Indiana, but
what if we just played them all at home until you got to the title game?
Let's go. I'm all for that.